owes my family an apology.
They say silence is power. But when a woman like Kimmi Scott finally decides to speak, silence turns into a storm. For years, Love and Marriage Huntsville fans have seen Kimmi as the calm, grounded, and understanding one, the woman who always kept her family together, even when things got messy. But lately, that calm energy has shifted. Because this time, Kimmi's not holding back. This time, she's calling out the betrayal that broke her heart and shattered the image of the perfect marriage fans thought they knew. It started quietly, whispers online, small comments during episodes, little moments that didn't seem like much. But now, the truth is out. And it's ugly. Maurice's dirty affair, the one he swore didn't exist, has finally been exposed, and Kimmi isn't covering for him anymore. She's done playing the loyal wife for cameras. She's done protecting someone who clearly didn't protect her.
I think some of the stuff needs to be addressed. Like all that extra behind the scene talking with your friends and all that, and you can't say it to a person. Yeah, that's like, yeah, you need to say it to them.
And what makes this story even wilder? The person Maurice allegedly got involved with isn't a stranger. She's someone who's been around. Someone Kimmi trusted. Someone she once welcomed into her space. That's where this gets dark, because this wasn't just a mistake. It was a betrayal from both sides. And Kimmi? She's not the kind of woman to go down quietly. But before we get into how everything exploded, let's rewind, because to really understand how deep this cut goes, we need to remember where Kimmi and Maurice started. When Love and Marriage Huntsville first hit TV, Kimmi and Maurice Scott were the couple everyone admired. They seemed solid, loving, and real.
Honey, and before you get on social media, TV, YouTube, talking about what you think you know, maybe reach out to the people that you're about to talk about and ask maybe if it's true or not, because it can land you in trouble when you speak of people that's not true.
Unlike the drama-filled relationships around them, the Scotts had this calm energy. Kimmi was mature, nurturing, and kind. Maurice was ambitious, confident, always talking about business and legacy. They looked like the couple that had it figured out. Behind the scenes, though, cracks had already started forming. Maurice was often gone long nights, business trips, meetings that somehow always ran late. Kimmi, being the strong and trusting wife she was, gave him the benefit of the doubt. She had her own career, her own goals, and she believed in giving her man space. But what she didn't realize was that space was being filled with secrets.
Justin has a point, and sometimes it's hard to hear.
Her eyes were moist too.
When she said, "I'm sorry, I love you," yeah, we thought they had a turning point in St. Thomas. Like by the time we got back, things were very different. Than the energy, Destiny had by the time we got back was different than what we thought we saw while we were there.
At first, it was small things. A sudden change in behavior. Late-night phone calls that ended the moment she walked into the room. Text messages turned face down on the counter. It wasn't enough to accuse, but it was enough to feel. And that's the thing about intuition: when something feels off, it usually is. Fans started noticing it too. During the show's early seasons, there were moments where Kimmi looked tired, emotionally distant, like her smile didn't reach her eyes anymore. But she stayed quiet. She kept her dignity, even when people online started speculating that something was wrong. And then came the health scare. Kimmi's battle with cancer became one of the most emotional storylines in Love and Marriage Huntsville. Viewers watched her fight for her life with unbelievable strength and grace.
Or hear me call somebody and say, "Hey man," or "Hey lady, your guy's cheating on you."
I don't disagree. I'm not saying that you would.
Okay.
What I am saying is that you don't sit and be complicit in it as far as finishing out the evening. Because I wouldn't want the person that I'm friends with to think that I think this is okay. Even after the words come out of my mouth, your actions speak louder than words.
I believe that actions speak louder than words as well. And I don't know how many phone calls I've had with Melody and Martell about their situation.
I hear what you're saying, and it doesn't change my opinion.
Yeah, we're at an impasse.
But what most didn't realize was that behind those brave smiles, she was fighting another battle, one she didn't tell the cameras about. Because even as she fought for her health, her marriage was quietly falling apart. You see, Kimmi noticed things that didn't add up. Messages that disappeared. Receipts that didn't match the story. And one night, when Maurice claimed he was out handling business, something told her to check. And what she found would change everything. The receipts weren't business related. They were hotel bookings. Late night dinners. Messages that no wife should ever see. And the woman in those messages? Someone from their own circle. At first, Kimmi didn't confront him. That's not who she is. She sat with it. She cried. She prayed. She questioned herself, wondering how the man she had stood beside through every storm could betray her like this. But when the whispers started spreading online, when fans began catching wind of the rumors, Maurice still denied everything. He played calm. He played innocent. But the truth doesn't stay buried forever. And when it finally surfaced, it wasn't through gossip blogs. It came straight from the woman herself. A few weeks ago, screenshots started circulating. Messages that showed Maurice being a little too friendly. Photos that clearly weren't just friends. And while the woman initially tried to stay anonymous, fans of the show are fast. They connected dots, found old pictures, and suddenly, the internet was flooded with posts about Maurice's mystery woman. What made it worse? The timeline. Some of those messages went back to the time Kimmi was still in treatment. When she was literally fighting cancer, Maurice was entertaining another woman. That's when everything shifted. Kimmi, who had always been composed, calm, and soft-spoken, finally broke her silence. She didn't yell. She didn't post angry rants. She simply posted one quote that said, "You can only lie for so long before the truth starts speaking for you." Fans instantly knew what that meant. Then came her sit-down interview. When Kimmi spoke, her tone was steady but full of pain. She said she wasn't here to bash anyone. She wasn't here for pity. She just wanted honesty, the one thing she never got from her husband. She revealed that she had known about the affair for a while but had stayed quiet because she didn't want to embarrass her family. She hoped Maurice would take accountability privately, that they could work through it without public humiliation. But instead, she watched him deny, deflect, and paint himself as the victim. And that's when Kimmi went off. She looked directly into the camera and said, "I carried this man when he didn't have it together. I supported his dreams, stood by him when nobody else did. And this is how he repays me? By disrespecting our vows and then trying to gaslight me into silence?" That moment went viral. Fans flooded social media, calling Kimmi a queen, a warrior, and a survivor not just of cancer, but of emotional betrayal. But here's where the story gets even darker. The alleged mistress wasn't just anyone. She had been around before, part of the Huntsville social circle, occasionally seen at events, and even in a few background clips from earlier seasons. That realization made everything 10 times worse. It wasn't just infidelity. It was betrayal from someone Kimmi once trusted. Rumors claim the woman started off working on one of Maurice's business projects, helping with property management. That's how it began: small talks, casual texts, and then it crossed a line. What nobody expected was that some of those business trips Maurice bragged about were allegedly excuses to meet her. And when the affair got exposed online, the woman tried to play the victim, claiming Maurice misled her. But Kimmi wasn't having it. She knew the truth, and for once, she wasn't afraid to call it what it was: manipulation, disrespect, and straight-up deceit. During one of her most emotional live moments, Kimmi said, "You think you know someone because you share a bed with them, because you build a life together. But sometimes you're sleeping next to a stranger." That line hit everyone like a punch. Fans commented things like, "That's the realest thing I've ever heard, and she's been holding that pain in for too long." But as Kimmi's truth came out, Maurice tried to clean up his image. He released a statement saying people were twisting things, that there was more to the story. But the problem was, every time he tried to defend himself, more receipts leaked. Screenshots. Voicemails. Even a few photos that were impossible to explain away. The man who once claimed to be all about integrity and family was now facing a full-blown PR disaster. And through it all, Kimmi never stooped to his level. She didn't throw names. She didn't bash him online. She carried herself with class, letting the truth speak for itself. But what nobody saw coming was how this would emotionally wreck her. In one of the most emotional scenes of the season, Kimmi opened up to her friends and broke down in tears, saying she felt like she had lost herself trying to keep her marriage alive. She said, "I gave everything I had, my energy, my forgiveness, my peace, and in return, I got lies." Those words weren't scripted. They came from a woman who had reached her limit. For a long time, Kimmi's story had been about survival, beating cancer, balancing family, and being the glue that held everyone together. But now, her story was about freedom. She was done being the one who always fixed things. She was ready to choose herself for once. Even fans who once doubted her strength started rallying behind her. People began writing comments like, "She deserves a man who values her heart," and sometimes walking away is the strongest thing you can do. But what nobody expected was how Maurice would react when Kimmi finally started pulling away. He panicked. After weeks of silence, Maurice posted a long video where he tried to tell his side. He admitted to emotional mistakes but claimed it never went that far. He talked about stress, loneliness, and feeling misunderstood, the same tired excuses people give when they get caught. He even tried to bring up Kimmi's illness, saying that the pressure of being a caregiver had weighed heavily on him. But fans weren't buying it. They called it manipulative and cruel. Because instead of taking responsibility, he was trying to make himself the victim again. Kimmi didn't respond publicly. But she did post one thing on her Instagram story, a black background with the words, "I'm not the one you get to rewrite history with." That said it all. Then came the real shocker. Sources close to production revealed that Maurice's behavior off camera had been a problem for months. There were arguments, cancelled scenes, and moments where producers had to step in. Allegedly, he had been trying to control how much of his personal life got shown, and when he couldn't, he lashed out. Kimmi, on the other hand, stayed professional. She filmed her scenes, showed up with grace, and handled every question with maturity. But behind closed doors, she was grieving. Not just the end of a marriage, but the end of a version of herself that always put others first. In one emotional confessional, she said, "I used to think love meant staying no matter what. Now I realize love sometimes means walking away, even when it hurts."